Okay, welcome everyone to our class on plummeting the depths of the Torah. So we finished the first level of Torah, the second level of Mishnah, the third level of the Gemara, and now we're ready. We've already actually been inside the level of the Rishonim, so we're going to go deeper into it at this point. Okay, but let's get a little review because we're a little I haven't met for a few times, so let's see if we get together. A pasuk in the Torah that said Meitav Kar Meitav Soda Yishalem, and we had a machlokus Rabbi Akiva and Rabbi Shmuel, which was explained in the Gemara to mean that they were arguing on what type of currency can you pay back your obligation when you damage someone. Money, the equivalent of money, land. But Meitav meant that you have to pay with the best of your land. That's all they said, really. Now, Abaya, here's Abaya and Rava, okay. It's on this thing around 300 after the Common Era, and we see that at this point, interesting enough, the Goyim have put the screws on us in Eretz Israel, so the learning there has diminished, and the Talmud Yerushalmi is finished about that time, and the powerful center of learning now switches really exclusively to Eretz Israel. Before this point, there was a lot of back and forth, people moving communicating back and forth between the yeshivas in Bavel and the yeshivas in Eretz Israel. But at this point, the Notzrim, I believe, made pretty much an end to our big centers of learning. So the center of learning moves to Bavel for another 500 years, but we are holding at this time and place where we have Rava and Abaya now looking back and examining this brisa actually between Rabbi Akiva and Rabbi Shmuel, and saying, okay, fine, we've concluded that we're talking about paying with the best of land when it comes to damaging, but Abaya raises a problem because we have another pasuk that says you can pay with money or money's equivalent. So we have two pasukim. On one hand, we have the pasuk that says Meitav Soda Meitav Yishalem. That's on one hand, which means that you have to pay with the best of your field. On the other hand, there's another pasuk that says in Bor that you can pay with kesef or the equivalent of kesef, even subin. So one pasuk says when you use non-money or something that has the equivalent of money, you could use anything, even the worst subin, and all of a sudden the other pasuk says no, when you use land, it has to be the best. So we have this contradiction between these two pasukim. So we went through 5 different variations, and we were left with 2 positions that were not removed. But let's look at that Gemara again because we have to be very, very clear about this. Here's the Gemara, of course, mapped out. Here's the Rumia of Abaya to Rava. One pasuk says Meitav Sadeh Meitav Kamer Yishalem, and he makes an inference. Meitav in Lo. You have to give the best. Okay, you can't give anything but the best. When it comes to the field, the best. But when it comes to the other part, is Kesef Yoshiv Labalav, and that extra word Yoshiv says Yishalem Kesef Labalav. Why did it say the extra word Yoshiv? So there, it's to tell you no. Not only can you give Kesef, but you can give Shava Kesef, anything that has value. And there, you can give absolutely the worst type of item as long as it has value. So remember, we're always talking about paying exactly the damage that you did. If it's $100, you're going to pay back $100. But the species, the type of payment that you can use when it comes to Shavik Kesef is the least desirable type of Shavik Kesef, which is Subin. When it comes to a field, however, you have to give the best of your field. So those two pesukim seem to be contradictory. I mean, they seem to clash with each other. Why in field you have to give the best, and when you're giving other forms of Shavik Kesef, you can give even the worst. So we went through 3 variations that were rejected, and here is our last variation. I tried to shut those things off, but they keep coming back. Okay, our last variation said, Oma Rava. I'm sorry, that's not true here. Ella, that's D. Ella ki asi Rav Papa Rav Huna Bered Rav Yeshua. This Rav Huna should not be confused with the Rav Huna we're going to mention in a little while. When Rav Papa and Rav Huna Bered Yeshua came, mi Bei Rav, from the house of Rav, they explained this seeming contradiction between the two pesukim. What did they say? They said, Kol mile meitavhu, di lo mizdaven hachi mizdaven masachrisa. All things, meaning in this case all the movables, they're all called good. Why? Because if you don't sell them here, you can sell them somewhere else. So we translate that to say the nizak, the person who was damaged, is going to get his money. Okay, he didn't get cash, but whatever he gets, whatever metaltalin, whatever movables he gets, he'll be able to get his money back. Okay, true, a little bit of a tircha. He's going to have to go to another city or another town maybe, but he'll be sure to get his money back. So the Torah relaxes the stipulation on the mazik and says, look, you know something, you don't have to pay him only with money, you can pay him with movables, because movables he'll be able to recover quickly. But Ara is not called good. Only the best is called the best. So the Torah says, Leisev levi meitav, that you must give him the best of the field, ki heichi delekafotz ala zvine, so that they will jump upon it buyers. Okay, so according to Rav Papa, the two pesukim interact with each other very simply. The Torah wants to make sure that the nizak gets its money back. So when it comes to movables, he'll always be able to get his money back, because if he can't get it here, he'll find a customer somewhere else. But land, since it has a limited amount of customers, the Torah wants to make sure that the nizak will get his money back and not be stuck with a piece of land that he really didn't want, just wanted the item that was destroyed. So it tells the mazik, if you want to pay in land, so you should pay in the absolute best. This way, even though there's a few buyers around, those buyers will be motivated to buy, because when everyone jumps at best land on sale. Okay, so that was Rav Papa, and there's no knockout of Rav Papa. Okay, so it seems we made the observation here that Abaya's original question had nothing to do with money. It had to do with Meitav and Subin. So we have to understand why. That's a question that's going to be raised, because we'll see that Rav Huna will talk about money, but Abaya does not seem to be talking about money here. His problem doesn't seem to be money and Meitav. His problem seems to be money and metaltalin. And Rav Papa explained that metaltalin you can give any grade you want, because you'll always be able to get your money back. But in land, you have to give the best grade in order that will get customers. So although he does not talk about Kesef, we'll presume that Kesef is equal to Meitav and is equal to the best of your land. The only problem in paying back the Nizak was when it came to land. course, you have a few customers. Money, it seems that's the best. You can always do that. And the only problem we had was, what about metaltalin, movables, and land? And we said metaltalin, no problem, give it even the worst type, and land, you must give the best type. So that was the conclusion here. The Gemara does not bring any objection to Reb Papa or Reb Yeshua at all. So normally when the Gemara concludes its argument or its discussion, so the conclusion, I'm just opening that up. So the conclusion is the conclusion. Okay. Now we notice that the Gemara now goes into an interesting discussion, which is related to the discussion of Rebbe Shmuel and Rebbe Akiva, which is, how do you evaluate what's called best? Do you look at the marketplace of best, or do you say it's the subjective best of what the Nizak has, or what the Mazik has? Excuse me. So, for instance, if the Mazik has, we said triple A land, and he also has single A land, and that single A land, which is equal to the Zibris, is equal, I'm sorry, to the best land of the world. Okay, so he has grade A land, which is grade A, called Meitav in the world's view. But he also has super duper fertile land, triple A land. So when we say that he has to give his best land, does he have to give his best land objectively? Okay, objectively, which means according to the world price, or no, even he has to give his own subject best land. So the Gemara now discusses back and forth. The conclusion, according to Tosfos, is that he has to give his subjective best land. So if he has AAA land, which is way more valuable than the world's land, he still has to give it. Of course, he's going to give a smaller amount to get that $100, but that's the requirement. So the Gemara went through a very, very long discussion of that issue, and at the end of that discussion, it brings up our Rav Huna. Okay, so now Rav Huna comes and he makes a very interesting statement. He says, "O kesev o meitav," meaning that you can pay back the nizak with either kesev or meitav sedehu. So we see that, first of all, he puts the kesev into the equation. And second of all, he doesn't talk about subin and the sheva kesev. So Reb Nachman asks him a kasha. He says, wait a minute. How could you say there's only two alternatives, kesev and meitav? There's a third alternative. Because everyone knows the drasha yoshiv, the extra word, the rabba sheva kesev afilu subin. So why did you not say kesev sheva kesev or meitav? Why only kesev and meitav? So he answers, hacha b'mai skinim delesli. When the Torah allowed you to use sheva kesev afilu subin, that's only when you don't have. What don't you have? So Rashi explains, when you don't have kesev and meitav, so then you can give subin or any type of sheva kesev. So he changes the possibilities of the mazik, whereas Rav Papa said you could give kesev, sheva kesev, and meitav. He all of a sudden says no. The first items that you have, if you have kesev or meitav, you have to give them. If you don't have them, it's the only time you can give sheva kesev, a fuel subin. So that's a different priority, correct? According to Reb Papa, give all three of them equally. The only thing that you can't give was, Zibris Abenis Karka. But according to Rav Huna, sheva kesev is worse than even meitav, and therefore, if you have meitav or kesev, you have to give that first. And that's what the conclusion of Rav Huna's position is. Rav Nachman says to him, wait a minute, if you don't have, of course you should give this Shavah Kesef. So he says, no, what might you have thought? You might have thought that the Torah, if I didn't tell you that the Torah did not write that you're allowed to give Shavah Kesef, you would say that he has to, that means the Mazik has to go out and sell a Shavah Kesef and then give Kesef back to the Nizak. That's what you would have thought. So there is a chiddush there that by saying Shavah Kesef, the Torah is saying that you the Mazik can give the Shavah Kesef if you don't have Kesef or Meitav, and you don't have to cash in that Shavah Kesef for Kesef. Okay, so now that is where we're holding in this level of the discussion. Okay, we have the Gemara now has limited the answers to this rumia, this contradiction between the two Pesukim, to two people, and we're going to just call one Rav Papa and not keep repeating Rav Huna, Rav Yeshua, although he was there also, and also we will get mixed up with this Rav Huna. So it has on Rav Papa one side, at Kesef, Shavah Kesef, and Meitav are all equal, and Rav Huna, who says that Shavah Kesef is less than Kesef and Meitav. Those are the two positions that we're left with. So at this point, we go to our next level, level 4. Okay. Now, the Rishonim, you can see here on this chart, from the 960 here, which is Rabbeinu Gershon, all the way down to 1300 is the Rishonim. The son of the Rosh writes the Shulchan Aruch, and that's a sort of a break. Of course, these are not hard and fixed lines, but there's a certain period of time where we realize that the learning has dropped a level, and therefore we don't involve ourselves in the problems of the generation before. So, for instance, the people in the Gemara will not give a new interpretation of what Meitav was over Rebbe Akiva, Rebbe Shmuel. Okay, they'll explain it, but they won't give it their own opinions because the difference between the Amarayim and the Tanaim was too great a split. Also, over here in the Rishonim are not going to come up with new ideas of what Meitav was, okay, or what Meitav is, and they're just going to explain to us exactly what the previous generation meant. In the Rishonim, we also have, we're going to see here generation differences. Now, it's interesting to note, just one second. It's interesting to note here, and I put this in green and yellow, if I know if I mentioned to you, the period of Rishonim, there's two great centers of learning that happen. One is in Ashkenaz in Germany and France, which is on the green side, and in North Africa, and then it goes into Spain and also into Egypt with the Rambam. So there's that Sephardic school and the Ashkenazic school. And they're the inheritors of the Masorah from the Gaonim, which was the yeshiva of Bavel lasted till around 950. And then again, unfortunately, the Goyim decided that that was enough for learning Torah, and they forced us to do other things. Basically, the center of learning moved from Bavel, and it moved here to these two centers in Ashkenaz and Sfarad. And this is not everybody linked, but Rabbeinu Gershon's is the main, let's say, inheritor of the Masorah in Ashkenaz, and from him, his students comes Rosh, his grandchildren, Rabbeinu Tam, and there's a whole series of Balei Tosfos. You could see Rabbeinu Tam is 1100 here, and the Marami Rottenberg is 15, and his student is the Rosh, It's 1250. So you see the Balitos last or quite a long time, till around 13. Here's the Ran also is considered a Rishon. And then around 1300s we get into the next level, which we'll be getting into, which is the level of the Achronim, really the Shulchan Aruch, and then we'll keep going down generations. But here it's interesting to know in the piece that we'll be doing, we're going to be discussing Rashi, of course, and Rabbeinu Tam, and then we're going to jump to the Rosh, who's going to now show us how to handle Rabbeinu Tam's dispute with the Rif. Okay, so you can see over here we have the Rif, the Rimagash, and then the Rambam, and the Ramah with a Hey. That's who it's studying. Which, as we said, his Rebbe was put in jail for 7 years, and he ended up dying in jail. And the Rosh was threatened with the same punishment, but he escaped successfully, and he went to Sfarad, where, of course, he became one of the major forces in the Torah in Spain. But he, as we're going to see, represents a very beautiful synthesis between the analytic learning that went on in Ashkenaz and the more categorical learning and halachic learning that went on in Sfarad. So we're going to see how he handles both. Now, of course, there starts with the really Rabbeinu Hanan and the Rif, and you have a machlokus between the Rif. Interesting, Rashi seems to be on the side of the Rif, and the younger generation, Rabbeinu Tam, they're going to be fighting the Rif, and probably their grandfather also, which they ought to do. And the Rosh now is going to be defending the Rif against the Rabbeinu Tam. And this, as I may have mentioned, is going to be the center of the debate for many hundreds of years until today, which is people are going to be explaining Rabbeinu Tam and explaining the Rif and explaining what the Machlokus is and explaining the Rosh. Okay, this is going to be the foundation of the generations to come. That's where the action is going to happen. Now, of course, you have to understand that each piece of Torah is going to involve different content and also different generations of people talking. But this piece is so nice because we have a slice that starts all the way in the Chumash and runs through the Gemara, the Mishnah, Rishonim, Achronim, till today, the Rosh Hashiva. So it's a very good demonstration piece where we can see how people interact, what they say and what they don't say. It's a very important thing to know, the parameters that each generation have and that they hand down to the next generation. Okay, so that was, as usual, a pretty lengthy discussion, but we have to be caught up. Basically, we're going to have on one side Rav Papa, who holds Kesef, Shavak Kesef, and Meitav are all equal. That's going to be Rav Papa. And we're going to have Rav Huna, who's going to say Meitav and Kesef. If you have them, you have to give them. And only if you don't have Meitav and Kesef, Sub. And that's where we're going to be holding now. We're not going to run into the Rambam, into the second half of our discussion. Okay, so I'm not going to bring them up now. And we're going to see, and we've seen more or less, that Rav Papa is going to be accepted by the Rif, and Rabbeinu Tam is going to accept Rav Huna. That's the groundwork. Okay, now let's get to the meat of the matter here. Okay. So we're going to have to remember the Gemara, both Gemaras, keep it on our heads, and then pay attention to what type of problems the Rishonim are solving. Okay, so first we had the Rif. The Rif first told us that Meitav Sedeo, Meitav Karmo is only when you give land, but when you give metaltalin, movables, you don't have to give the Meitav of your movables. Why? Because Kol Mididihi Levi Meitav Ninhu Afilu Subin, he quotes, paraphrases Reb Papa, that everything that's immovable, metaltalin, is considered good. Why? De'ilo mizaven hacha. And here he says, how to know that you can use movables b'chlal, because it says kesav yoshiv l'ba'alav l'rabba shava kesav afil subin. So that is the Rif. Now remember, we said that the Rif is concerned in, let's say more concerned in reducing the Gemara to its halachic conclusion. Okay, and that's very much in the style of the Sephardic tradition. Will be continuing that style, which is concentrating on the halachic aspect of the Gemara. Why do I say that? As opposed to the Ashkenazic side, which will concentrate more on the analytic, internal discussion of the Gemara, and as a result, of course, will come to a conclusion. But they will remain on the daf, so to speak, and not try to paraphrase or to reorder the conclusions of the daf. Okay, so here we see who's going to be the father of the Ashkenaz tradition, even though he used the Rebbe Chananos before him, and he also is a summarizer, but on the daf. Bekitzer, he tells us that Meitav is limited to land and not metalton. That's his first piece. So his second piece, he says, V'afal gav v'pligi Rev Huna v'Rev Asi, Kaimalan karev Papa Rev Huna Rev Yeshua the Basrai Ninhu. The second piece of information is very important. Not only did he paraphrase the conclusion of Gemara, but he also here tells us the halacha. Okay. Now why? Because we said, now it's a very important problem here. The Gemara ended with Reb Papa, had a middle piece about, do you pay with the nizak or the mazik? I mean, sorry, that's not true. Do you pay according to the subjective or objective value of the mazik's land when you say meitav? And then it brought Rev Huna. So we have an unusual Gemara because it sort of ends, goes on a interesting discussion of the Brisa, and then comes back again to Rev Huna. So we have two conclusions. Both of them are not excluded. And the Rif says very clearly that, number one, Rev Huna is arguing with Reb Papa. As we said, Reb Papa will hold Kesef Shevet Kesef and Meitav are equal, and Rev Huna says no, Meitav drops below only when you don't have Kesef and Meitav. But that's number one. And number two, the halacha is like Rev Papa and Rev Huna B'Rei Yeshua, and he gives a reason why. What's his reason? That's the Basrai Ninhu. They are the later authorities, and we have a general rule in Shas. No one argues about that. When it comes to knowing what the conclusion of the Gemara is, we go with the latest authorities mentioned. Okay, we said a few spheres for that, but basically that is the rule. So the Rif summarized the meaning of Meitav and told us what the halacha is. Fine. And says, in my little 111 means they're all on an equal level. Kesef and Meitav, Kesef and Suman are all equally correct. Rashi will skip. We said Rashi said in a few places it's mashma. He also likes Reb Papa. Okay, but now we move to the Tosfot. Now, it's very important to look at the form that people present. This is a classic form, whereas the Rif just summarized because his purpose was to understand or to accentuate an halacha. The Tosfos is on the daf itself. I mean, so is the Rif, by the way, but he's so to speak, cutting out all the debate and just telling you conclusions. But Tosfos is right here on the daf, and he writes on Rev Huna. He first brings his grandfather, again, the Tosfos for a few hundred years, and I won't get involved in which Tosfos it is. This is called Tosfos Shalano, but this is the Tosfos compilation that we have, and it first brings Rav Papa. Excuse me, what am I talking about? First brings Tosfos, Contras, and tells us that the goal of Rev Huna was Litaretz Kroy Del Hail. Okay? So Rev Huna has the same goal as everyone else mentioned there with Abaya, and certainly with Rev Papa mentioned last. These two Pesukim come into conflict, one that says Meitav Sedeh Meitav Karmo, and the other Pasuk says Kesev Yashli L'Ba'alav. Question is, how do these two Pesukim interact? Okay, you could say Meitav is exclusive and nothing else, but you can't say that because you have Kesev and Shavik Kesev. So we have a problem of how these two Pesukim interrelate to each other. So Rashi first tells us, yes, Rev Huna is another position. He's coming to answer the conflict of these two Pesukim, verses in collision. And Tosfos adds here, this is Tosfos commentary, V'tzarech loma shelo hispik l'sayim d'v'rashi hikshalo, Reb Nachman. Okay, he says, if you're going to learn like Rashi, that Rev Huna now is commenting on the verses in collision, then you're going to have to say that Rev Nachman interrupted him before he could finish his total exposition. Okay, because we said there's two verses and there's three variables. So Rev Huna's first statement was O Kesev, O Meitav. That's all he said. Then Rev Nachman asked him a question about Yashiv, and then he said Yashiv is second fiddle. So if it was Rev Huna's aim to explain both those Pesukim, he would have had to explain all the variables. And since he only explained the first two before he was interrupted by Rev Nachman, and then explained only the third one after Rev Nachman, Tosfos says we must learn Rev Nachman as a interrupter who interrupted the exposition of Rev Huna. Why does he say that? Because Tosfos is now bringing up a difficulty in the parish of Rashi. Okay, now remember, Rashi himself had a difficulty in saying Rev Huna was involved with the problem of Abaya. I don't know if you remember, but what he told us was that there was this break in the middle, right, that we spoke about. So Rashi said, well, as far as that break was concerned, with a little click we can go back to Rashi. As far as that break was concerned, okay, first of all, Rashi said, Lo kasha krodel ayal kesevu meitav. Those are not a problem, those two, because Hachikam marachmana o kesev yiten lo o meitav. V'hod lo ayre Rev Huna ad hacha. Why did Rev Huna just start talking about the Pesukim now, and that we had this whole discussion with Abaya and all the people chiming in, and Reb Papa? Mishum the boy lasuke v'milta the Rav Yishmael the boy la'al. Because the Gemara wanted, before it got into Rev Huna, to finish up the discussion of Rabbi Shmuel and Rabbi Akiva, where is the subjective or objective meitav. That's what Rashi says. But every time Rashi speaks, you always have to look into Rashi and say, as a book came out, what's bothering Rashi? Why did he have to comment here? Okay, so Rashi tells us, I am saying, says Rashi, that Rev Huna is commenting on the same debate as Abaya is talking about, albeit a little formatted a little bit differently, but it's the same problem. And you'll ask me, why was there a break? Why not just bring Rev Huna back there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And my answer is because the Gemara wanted to finish that discussion of Rabbi Shmuel before they went to Rav Huna. Now you'll ask, why did it want to finish the discussion of Rabbi Shmuel and go to Rav Huna? Good question. not going to give you a quick answer on that because I just, don't have one on top of my head, but that's what Rashi says. So we see in Rashi that he's already sensitive that this Gemara is difficult to understand. One, because it has the break. Two, because it leaves us with two different halakhic conclusions. And now Tosfos adds a third reason why it's difficult to say that Rav Huna is talking about the Pesukim. And that's because if that's true, then we're going to have to say that Rav Nachman interrupted him. Since there's three variables in those two Pesukim, and Rav Huna was going to tell us all three of them, then you're going to have to say, if he's talking about the Pesukim, that Rav Nachman, quote unquote, rudely interrupted him before he was going to finish. So that makes that explanation a little weak. Now, he says in the beginning of Der Tunos that everything that we do in learning is totally up front. There's no hidden agendas and no wild cards. Everybody's putting the cards on the table here. So Rashi is taking a position here about the relationship of Reb Huna, Reb Papa, and he's telling you clearly why that is, what difficulties he has. And Tosfos adds in another difficulty. And everyone is going to tell you exactly what they did and why they did it, okay? So there's no, hidden wild cards at this point. Now, Tosfos then says, Ve'istigar say Omer Rav Huna. What's the difference between putting an Omar before or after Rav Huna? So if you put the Omar after Rav Huna, you make him more in the debate. It says, he said this, Rav Huna says this, and Rav Papa says this. Or actually, I should have said the other way. Rav Papa says this, and Rav Huna says that. I said that before. So when you put the Omer afterwards, the understanding is that this is another opinion in the debate. But if you start with the word Omar, that's starting with an original position, and it's not connected to anything that went before. So what now tells us some people learn the Girsa Omer Rav Huna. That would indicate that it's not involved in the Pesukim at all. That frees us from Rav Huna having to be involved with the Pesukim. So then, what is he talking about? As a new statement, he's talking on our Mishnah. Because the Mishnah only said Meitav Haaretz, and Rav Huna said, Lav Dafka Meitav Haaretz, it also means Kesev, not only Meitav Haaretz. So at that point, Rav Nachman said, once you say Kesev, and about the Mishnah, should have also said Shavik Kesev, and he says, well, the reason why it's not there is because that you can only give when you don't have Kesev, Shavik Kesev, Kesev Meitav, I'm sorry. Okay, so that's the first thing that Tosfos does. He brings us Rashi. Okay, then you see that this is a later Tosfos because he's going to now bring Reb Elfas also, and he says, well, although Reb Elfas is and Rashi the same, the previous generation. I'm sorry, he'll bring Rabbeinu Tam, but he brings the two previous generations, Rashi and Reb Elfas. Reb Elfas, of course, says, as we just read, that Reb Huna and Reb Yeshua are pligi. Okay, this Reb Huna here is arguing with Reb Huna above, and the inhu savre kol milameitav hu v'filu subin, because Reb Papa, holds that all metaltal and even subin is called meitav, whereas Rav Huna says the only thing that's meitav is kesef and karka. So Rav Alfasi says they're definitely arguing. And Pesach, what's the Pesach? As we saw, the Pesach of Rav Alfas, the Rif, was like Rav Papa and Rav Yeshua, because they are Basroi. So he gave the reason why he held like it. So that's the second position that Tosfos is bringing us. Now he's going to bring us the position of Rabbeinu Tam. Okay, so this is a post Rabbeinu Tam. Rabbeinu Tam is not talking himself. Rabbeinu Tam wrote a book called Sefer HaYashar, and in that book he explained his halachic position when it comes to Nezikin. And what did he say? This is a Tosfos talking. Rabbeinu Tam Ein Sover Kain. He doesn't hold like the Rif Lahalacha minimum. And he says that there's three different types of dinim when it comes to Meitav. When it comes to Nezikin, it's O Kesef O Meitav, Ve'ilesle Afilu Subin, which means he's holding like Reb Huna. Okay? Fine. Then he brings Balchov and Poel. We won't go through them. Let's now go to the Rosh. So now I'm going to ask you to put your thinking caps on here, because we're going to go down to the next level. Now, we said the Rosh is a late Rishon relatively, because as we'll see here, he's going to bring us Rashi, Rev Alfas, and Rabbeinu Tam. And what he's going to do is defend Rev Alfas against Rabbeinu Tam. Rev Alfas said the halacha is like Reb Papa, and Rabbeinu Tam said the halacha is like Runa. And the Rosh is going to defend Rev Alfas against Rabbeinu Tam and agree with him and say that the halacha is. But what he'll do is not only say that the halacha is like Rev Alfas, like a Shulchan Aruch, but he'll explain to you why Rev Alfas is correct. Okay, so you ready for that? That's a long introduction. Nothing I can do, because as we go down, we have to keep track of everything that was said before. Okay, that's still good. Okay, so this little long introduction, that's it. If we don't have that background, then we can't go forward, because we're going deeper and deeper into the issue here. Okay, so let's read the Rosh here. Okay, so I'd like you to get involved now, okay, and read, because this is like new territory. We haven't done the Rosh, and I always like to also concentrate on the style, which is how the Torah is presented, and it's very, very important to do that, because when a person then says a piece of Torah, if he wants to say a classic piece of Torah, this is the format that he should use. It's more than just a format. It's a way of explaining things, which is basically the Gemara and the Masara, which is you first bring the subject that you want to speak about, the people who spoke about before you, and then you're allowed to say whatever you want to say. That's fine, but you have to define the field first of the discussion, and then you can comment and say whatever you'd like. But you have to, since we see here the learning of Torah is rather broad, complex, so you always must define your discussion very, very carefully, so that people know exactly where you're holding, and that's what the Rosh does beautifully. So let's have you start again, and go forward here.
Okay, so Rav Huna Omer Okesef Omeita. Rav Huna says we pay back with either money or land. Pirish Rashi Shabalataretz Kare de la Ayel, that he came to explain.
The resolve. Very good.
Yeah. V'lo speak l'sayim dvarav al shehiksha Rav Nachman, and he did not manage to finish what he wanted to say until Rav Nachman problematized it for him. Right.
So right. Until
so
he was. Go ahead, please.
Right. Yeah, so he didn't finish saying what he wanted to say, Rav Huna, because Rav Nachman interrupted him. But as Amarle Dekra Hachi Mitratzi. What is Mitratzi? It's Alteritz, but I understand that.
This is how we're going to resolve the Pesukim. Okay. That's Rav Huna.
Oh, Rav Huna Amarle. Rav Huna said to him, this is how we're going to resolve it. Im ein lo kesef o meitav, if he doesn't have money or land, or best land, kol mi lemeitav hu, then everything is considered meitav. Everything is tantamount, is more basically can be considered meitav under the broad category of meitav, of the best. Ve'lo matzi velo matzi amarle zil trach zogen. And he shouldn't say to him, go and go bother yourself and sell.
Meaning, spell it out. Yes, that's what he's saying.
He's saying that we should not tell a person to go and sell his subin in order to get kesef.
Now, you cannot, you do not have the power to tell him, you the nizak, do not have the power to tell him to go out and sell his subin and bring you money. Right?
Right.
Good.
Islay kesef u'metav, and if he doesn't have either kesef.
No, is means he does, by the way. Lace means he doesn't, and is means he does. You can remember lace, if it has lace, it reads low. Is means, yeah. This is yesh. The tough sometimes exchanges with the shin. So anyway, that's is yesh.
So if he does have money or good land, then he should not give him shava kesef. He should not give him subin or any other type of equivalent.
Right.
He should give him either one of those two. That's
right.
That's Rav Papa's position.
Right.
And
now all
that's Rav Huna's position. That's Rav Huna's position.
Yes, so this is Rashi. I'm sorry. Right. Exactly. Yeah. This is all Rashi explaining Rav Huna's. Now we have to be careful, because it's not Rashi explaining Rav Huna's position. It's the Rosh explaining Rashi, who's explaining Rav Huna's position. Now you know why the kids sing Chad Gad Yo. Okay. It's very important to understand the chain here, okay?
Right.
Okay. So now we'll just make a few observations here in the Rosh. Notice that the Rashi did not say this line of hispik l'saim divarav achik sharav. That was Tosfos explaining Rashi.
Right.
Okay? So again, the Rosh is taking the freedom of paraphrasing Rashi, inserting the Tosfos into it, as if Rashi himself said it. Okay? Okay? So that's because he accepts Tosfos as the parish of Rashi. But I just wanted to emphasize or to point out here, to highlight, that this is the Rosh explaining Rashi. Rashi did not mention this thing of Rav Nachman himself. Correct? Okay. So it's very good to know, because you always have to also keep track of what was said and what was explained in the name of who said it. Okay? Rashi doesn't hold it. It's not at all. But at least these subtle differences could come up later on and make differences, okay? And that's really, the more subtly attuned you are to the text, the better you can then see variations in the theme, which, as I said, may have occurrences. Okay, but this part below, speak l'saim dera'ad shehikshalo va'az omale im ein lo kesef kol milimetu below matzi omale zil tar chazavin v'islay kesef lo yitem lo kesef. Now, notice how the Rosh recaps the Gemara for you. You see, this is a recap. In other words, why I say Rashi is on the page, and he's telling you what each person said. The Rosh is summarizing Shitas Rashi for you by putting together what Rashi said with how he was explained by the Tosfos. Now remember, he's at the he's the end of the line here. Oops, I'm just going to go back up. I don't have a link. I have to slip up there. Okay, here's the Rosh. You see. So he's talking about Rabbeinu Tam, previous generation, okay, not so long ago, but the previous generation, because again, there's a whole school here from Rabbeinu Tam all the way, that's 1100 all the way to 1250 of the Rosh. There's a whole school of Balei Tosfos. It's not just Rabbeinu Tam, he doesn't live 150 years, okay? So this school understood Rashi that way, and that's how the Rosh is bringing down in his summarization. Now, here also you see the fusion of the two styles. Okay, whereas basically the Ashkenazim stay on the daf. He now moves into more of a summarization mode, if I could say so. Okay, he's not explaining, he's not on the Gemara, and he can't because already his teachers already explained to him Peshat in the Gemara, so he accepts that, he summarizes that, and he brings that down to us. Okay, so it's very interesting to see. Again, you have to understand the parameters of where they're going to go. The Rosh is not going to give a new alternative that the Rif and the Rabbeinu Tam did not say. He's going to work within their parameters. That's what it means, the Masara. When there's a noticeable drop between one generation and the next, then the people stop making new parameters and they work with the parameters that were given. And that's what we're going to see here in the Rosh. Just like really we saw in Tosfos himself, who brought the Rif and the Rosh and Rabbeinu Tam. But the Rosh now is coming as the next generation and is going to now do the next piece of work, which is to explain to us the interaction between Rabbeinu Tam and the Rif. Okay, now let's get here. There's the Rosh. So that's the first piece of the Rosh. He brings Rashi, explains that Rashi holds that Reb Huna is involved in the same problem as Abaya was, which was these two Pesukim, and he was really going to explain all three variables, but Reb Nachman jumped in and prevented him and asked a question that he was anyway going to answer. And then he answered him, but he was going to get to that anyway. So that's a weakness in saying that Reb Huna is really talking about the same issue that Reb Papa was talking about. And that's why Tosfos said there's another variable. We can say he was talking on the Mishnah. Okay, but that's what the Rosh brings down, that explanation. Now the Rif explains the side of the Rif. Okay, so let's see what he says. V'chein kasava Rif. So he says the Rif agrees with Rashi. Okay, go ahead.
The Rav Papa Rav Huna Breder Rav Yeshua, the aisle. So he follows Rav Papa. Pligi Adarabba Huna. There's a between. He disagrees with Rav Huna.
Right. So he agrees with the Rif that Reb Papa and Rav Huna are arguing with each other. Okay? Reb Papa is saying that all three things are equal, and Rav Huna is saying that Subin is less than Kesef and Meitav. Are you with me? Do you want to go over that again?
Yeah. No, it's okay.
Okay, so the Kasav Reb Alfas, the Reb Papa, Reb Huna B'Red, Reb Yeshua, Pligi, that's why I underline that word, Pligi means to you with Reb Huna. So Reb Alfas also lines up with Rashi that we have an argument here between Papa and Reb Huna B'Red Yeshua and Reb Huna. Okay, Beseda, and he goes further. V'savrei, who Reb Papa and Reb Huna B'Red Yeshua, yeah.
The Savre, who's doing who's explaining here?
Plural. Reb Papa and Reb Huna Yeshua hold.
The whole Mila Meitav Hu Ve'afilu Sudan, that Meitav applies to anything, including Sudan, the word Meitav. The Pasak, Kedra Papa, Rav Huna Breder Rav Yeshua, the Inun Basar.
Inun means they are.
Since they are the last poskim, so he followed their psak.
Exactly. Okay, so a summarization of Reb Alfas. He tells us that Reb Alfas agrees with Rashi, that there's an argument here between Reb Papa and Reb Huna, and he adds that Reb Alfas pesaks like Reb Papa. Okay, very good. So he brought down now that generation. Now let's see what he does next. You see, now he brings down the next generation, Rabbeinu Tam. You see how he's presenting? And this is exactly what the method that I'm using in my inside out. What I'm trying to do is go from the earliest generation, which is Har Sinai, and then go down, bring everyone down and see what their parameters are. Okay, and that's exactly what the Rosh is doing here. Now he's going to bring Rabbeinu Tam. Okay.
Rabbeinu Tam pasuk Rav Huna b'de'is lei. So he goes according to Rav Huna. What's b'de'is lei?
When he has, I'm just going to, this was a remnant left over. I'm just going to get rid of this. That means when he has, no, that shouldn't be there. Rabbeinu Tam, I'm sorry, is pasuk like Rav Huna b'de'is, when he has, the mazik has kesef or meitav, he must give kesef and meitav. And he cannot give subin. So to answer your question, I think he's pesaka Rav Huna that you can't give subin b'de'is when you do have kesef and meitav. Okay, because subin is, if you look at the variable that's going to change here, it's subin. According to Reb Papa, it's equal. It's up there with kesef and meitav. And according to Rav Huna, it's below. Okay, so that subin variable is going to go from equal to everything to go below. Okay, so Rabbeinu Tam says the halacha is like Rav Huna, b'de'is, which means you can't give subin, correct? When you have kesef and meitav. Okay, v'kasav. Oh, that's Kasav B'Sefer. Yes, please.
Rashi was explaining Rav Huna's position, but he did not actually take a stance like the Rif or the Rabbeinu Tam, right?
Right. He did not give a halachic stance. He only told us what was going on, but he didn't tell what the halacha was. He just, this is what's going on here that Rav Huna is arguing.
Okay, so the two oldest sources we have with us, not oldest, sorry, but among the Rishonim, so this is the argument between Rabbeinu Tam and Rav Alfas.
That's correct.
Okay. And they themselves, it depends on a reading which says that there's a machlokes between Rav Papa and Rav Huna.
Yes, exactly. Okay. Very good.
Okay, so now here we have Rabbeinu Tam. So he says, the cost of a sefer yashar, shloshat din befraon.
Pirion. Pirion means with payment. Lifroa, to pay. Okay.
Sefer Yashar is a book of Rabbeinu Tam?
Very interesting. Yes, it's a book that Rabbeinu Tam wrote. It's not about Tosfos on the page. Now I don't know the difference between Sefer Yashav and the Bali Tosfos we have, but it's a separate book that Rabbeinu Tam wrote. I don't even know if it's a halachic book. I don't know much about it. But this is halachically anyway. Rabbeinu Tam spelled out exactly what he held the halacha was in Nezikin. That's no question, and also Balchov, and also in Mechaktos and Poel. So we'll just read them quickly as a review. When it came to Nezikin,
what are the three views here? Is it the ones you have numbered 1, 2, 3?
Okay, yes, that's very good. That's very good. Actually, the numbering should be like this. The numbering is very good. I redid this, and that should be more like it, although it should be more like this. Okay, that should actually be more like that, because we're going to have Balchov and Lokeach. No, that doesn't work. Those are going to be two subcategories. So it's not going to be, that's a bit sloppy here, if I must say so. Let me just see if we can, okay. We're going to have one category called Nezikin, okay? We're going to have a second category that's going to have Balchov and Lokeach Shenimsa. Let me just get him over there where he belongs. Okay, and move him back over here where he belongs. A little bit of house cleaning, if you don't mind. Okay, let's do some house cleaning. Oops. Yeah. All right. Okay, so the three dinim are going to be Nezikin. We're going to have one din. The Balchov and Mekachtos will be the second din, and the Poel will be the third din. Okay, so let's go through them now that I've, Baruch Hashem, straightened that out. I keep going through variations of this thing and redesigning it, but okay. So let's go one at a time. First of all, Nezikin.
Okay. So Nezikin, O Kesef Umeitav Rav Huna bid Islay. So either money or meitav, according just like Rav Huna says.
When you have them.
When you have them, yeah.
Them meaning kesef and the meitav, right?
Yeah. The Islay, call me the meitav. When you don't have those, then you can pay with sugar.
Right.
That's it.
Okay.
That's the halacha in Nezik.
That's halacha clearly like Rav Huna. Okay. Now for interest, we'll go over the Baal Chov. What's the halacha in a Baal Chov? This is Baal Chov. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Is lezuze. So if he has money, lo matzi le sinukyo ela bezuze. So he should. I guess it means he should only pay with zuzim.
That's correct. So even if he has mitaf saluk, salek means to get someone out of there. L'salek, to remove. He can't remove his obligation except with zuzeh. So let's see if he has meitav, for instance. Can he give a meitav? No way. Once he has money, now I'm going to just straighten this out again, a little house cleaning up here. Okay. When it comes to Baal Chov, he has... Yes, exactly. That's the difference. That's why this is the second din. That makes this din different than the Zikin. In the Zikin, he can give o meitav o kesef. But in Baal Chov, if he has kesef, he must give that first. He can't give a meitav. Okay, that's the source.
Yeah.
Well, we have to get into that source. Yeah. Okay. So I'll just tell you, it's a person. What happened was over there. I'm just going to give you a summarization. The malva, the person who lent the money, comes to the Loba and says, "Well, it's time to pay my money back." And the Loba says, "Well, I don't have your money." So the malva says, "Well, what's all that money on your table?" "Oh, that I borrowed from a guy." It's not, excuse me, that's not even borrowed. That's a goyish money. It's not mine. It belongs to, Henry, whatever his name was over there, Henry, it's not my money, right? So we'll get the whole story over. It's very interesting. We should go into it. It's going to be very, very significant. But basically, so he wants to give him land. So the din is he has to give him the money. Okay, now I want to go into that more carefully, but basically over there, he's totally ma'asab b'nochri, meaning that he was supposed to give the money, but he says that the money belongs to a guy, right? So there, we learned that if he in a loan, the first thing he has to do is give his money. Okay, and that's why the Loba said, "Give me your money," and he was supposed to give it. The only way he get out of it by saying, "Oh, that's not my money. That's Henry over there." Okay, so if you have money, even if you have best land or any land, you have to give the money first. Okay, aval ilay zuze, if you don't have money.
So we don't tell him to go out and burden yourself with acquiring cash.
Right. So the person who borrowed the money can give him a subin. Okay.
If he doesn't have zuzeh.
If he doesn't have zuzeh, but if he has zuzeh, he must pay with zuzeh. That's it. Okay. He can get away with meitav and subin here, but
meitav too.
Yeah, I think he can get away with meitav also. He doesn't have to give meitav. Okay. But if he has money, he has to give it. If he doesn't have it, so he can give, I think, a filu. You can give even subin. You can give land to get everything, but you can't be forced to convert it into cash. Okay? So when it comes to loans, Tosfos say, paying back a loan, you have to pay back with kesef. If not, then you can give all these other things. It doesn't really matter. But kesef supreme. Okay, and we'll get into that case also. We'll have to get into it as we, further on, develop this thing. Okay. Notice what we're doing also, by the way. See how Rabbeinu Tam now is not only involved in the local issue here,
Yeah.
but now he's broadening his scope to include all cases of pirion. We have to understand what is now the connection between all these cases. Okay, what is pirion? It means to pay back. Okay, so you can pay back because you damaged someone. You can pay back because you borrowed money to someone. Now, what's the third case over here? Oh, yeah, the third case.
Or this is still part of Balchov, no? It's a type of Balchov.
Well, it's going to have the same din when it comes to spin. That's what we have to keep our eye on, okay? That's why you're asking the proper question. Why is this here? So it's going to have the same din. That's what we're going to see in one. It's not the same case, but that's why he says there's three. Yeah, there's three dinim when it comes to pirion, and basically the relationship of subin to kesef. Okay, and also okay, we'll see how he spells it out. Let's see. Lokeiach shenim said mechetaos. Go ahead. That's a big case too.
So somebody who makes a mistake. Sorry.
Yes.
So if somebody makes a mistake is it by selling or by?
In a mekach, yes, he sells. Yeah, or the case over there is he sold a cow, and the buyer thought he was buying a cow for plowing, and it turns out that it was a cow that was a gorer, and the only thing you could do with it is shecht it and eat it. So it's you get less for a cow that you have to eat than the cow that you have to work. So it was called, what do we call it, misrepresentation. Yeah. So he misrepresented the animal. So now the person whose animal, all of a sudden he finds this guy doesn't plow too much. He sure likes to fight. So he goes back to the seller and he says, my dear friend, I bought a cow for plowing, not to, for its meat. So now the person has to pay the money back again. See? That means the seller has to pay the money back to the buyer. Okay, so Tosfos says nami dina hachi. Okay, which means give money back. You can't give him now, some cows or anything else or some subin. Money talks, just like in loans. Okay, and he brings a raya. You see, that's another very important thing to understand. The form. You just don't make a statement of halacha. You have to prove your point. So Tosfos now proves it from the Gemara in Perikapara, Daf Mem Zayin. Okay. Again, expanding the field to us. The third case, a third variation now. So the first case where you can give meitav or kesef subin was only b'diavad. When it came to balchov, only money, and subin, meitav, anything you want to give is b'diavad if you don't have money. When it comes to mekachtos, it has the same thing as the balchov. Now we have the poel. The poel is a worker that you've hired. Okay. Technically, this doesn't need an A. Let's see. Poel, what's the din? Omerle.
Oh, Omerle, zil tarach ve'ise. So if the balabait, in other words, the employer doesn't have cash, so we tell him you go out and get cash. You go even if it's trouble. That's another source.
Okay. So when it comes to a worker, however,
we protect the employee.
That's correct. The employee is protected, and can't say over there it says take some cows for your work. You can't do that. You have to pay him in cash. Okay. No shaveh kesef at all. And you, the employer. So we brought up over here the sequences of paying back, and also what's interesting here is the dynamic between the person who owes the money and the person who's receiving the money, who's owed the money and the person who owes the money. Let's see, how do you say that carefully? There's a person here who has to pay back money, and then there's, let's call him the victim, let's say. Not the victim, that's not a good word, but okay. The person who has to collect the money. Let's say there's the collector, and the person who has to pay and the person who's collecting. And we see there's a dynamic here between these two forces. And as we mentioned, I don't know if we mentioned it, but on one hand, the Torah wants to protect people from being abused, like the worker, and on the other hand, it has to make sure that the person is going to receive his pay. So, like in a person when he borrows money, the Gemara says that it's not most, it says ashray. When you loan money, it's a suffix if you're ever going to get it back. You may get it back, you may not. It's 50-50. So there we have a delicate balance between making sure that the person who borrows the money gets his money back, and he doesn't and we don't put such a great burden on the person who is returning the money, so that he just won't show up. If he has to run around and cash all his subin. So we say a bird in hand is worth two in the bush. When it comes to a loan, the person would rather have, the malva would rather have his money back, even if it's in subin, than force the lova to produce the cash, because the lova is not so reticent to give back the money, and neither is the Baal Chov, Mechaktos person too, right? Come on, he made the sale is finished, now you're coming back and complaining you want your money back. Okay, so there's this dynamic between these two parties here that has to be discussed, and that's really what the iyun is about. And then we have to see how the Torah is protecting one or the other in this delicate balance between who has the money and who's got to get his money back. But this is all called pirion, by the way. This is not called, for instance, when you buy something. And when you buy something, we have different rules, because you have an agreement between the person who is selling and buying as to what the species of currency is. You won't get the object unless you pay the money. The two things happen simultaneously. But in all these cases, there's a gap between the money leaving the hands of Mr. A, as in the case of damage or the malva or nechaktos, and getting it back. There's a gap, and there's a tension here. So it's very, very interesting to observe how the Torah is going to deal with these two sides. And so you have this conflict. It's very, very exciting. Okay, we're going to focus only on the Nezek part of this. Okay, we're not going to expand to all three fields, which, of course, is done as we go. As I mentioned, I use the analogy of the spider web. When you move one thread, it now readjusts the other threads in the web. So here too, these three items are interrelated. We're not going to go to the depth of showing their interrelationships, although we're going to discuss some of them as we go down the chain, as they become relevant. But the way you establish these relationships are going to tell us how you learn these particular Gemaras, and will have ramifications, one to the other and further on. But we're going to hold it at this point. Basically, we see that Rabbeinu Tam has disagreed with the Rif. And Rabbeinu Tam does not give any reason why he's disagreeing with the Rif. He says, this is the halacha is like Reb Huna. So he doesn't explain himself why the halacha is like Reb Huna, and he doesn't explain on what basis does he disagree with this halacha of following, not the halacha, the halacha of going after the latest authority. Okay? It's at this point that the Rosh will talk. So the Rosh first presents the Kodmanim, the people who were before him, lays out the field, as I said, okay? And now he is free to comment, and that's what he does now. So let's look at his comment here. Now also the Rosh's style is extremely brief. Really everyone's style is brief, but we've filled in the background because we have background material. We're going to see how the Rosh now interacts with the Rif and Rabbeinu Tam. Let's read it. Number 3.
Mashalo Pasak Rabbeinu Tam, Rav Papa Rav Huna Bered Rav Yeshua. Sarich Loimar.
The Inhun Basrai, I just wanted to highlight
The
that.
Inun Basra.
Right.
The Inun Basra.
Okay.
So the fact that Rabbeinu Tam did not go with Rav Papa and company, even though they were the last.
That's right. So right. So now he has to explain. Rabbeinu Tam doesn't explain himself here, right? He's not talking about the Riv. He's talking about his own Pesach. But the Rosh, who is inheriting, of course, the Rabbeinu Tam and the Rif, compares the two texts and say, wait a minute now. Now we have a very significant machlokus between the Rif and Rabbeinu Tam. The Rif clearly explains why he's holding like Reb Papa, and the Rabbeinu doesn't. So now I will come in. Notice this is my position. This is what I must do now, is to explain Rabbeinu Tam. Okay? Because he didn't explain himself. So that's his position here, okay? Sarich Lomar, now he's going to explanation. He's actually going to give two explanations of Rabbeinu Tam. That's why we have this one, this two. Okay, with a lot of subs, so we're going to have to get into our submarine. Okay, let's see what he says.
The Savar, the low plegi, so he understands that there's no conflict.
Rabbeinu Tam. Yes, between whom?
Understands that there's no between Rav Papa and Rav Huna.
Right, exactly. That's why I put up here. That's why I put up here my little gray brackets, because again he doesn't spell things out, because he's expecting that he's talking to a person who's well versed in the text, and so he's writing very, very briefly. Okay, he doesn't have to say much. Okay,
and
so
would this mean that he's not really in conflict with the Rif either then? No?
Well, no, he has to be in conflict with Rif, halachically. Rabbeinu Tam, remember, the Rif said that Reb Papa and Rav Huna were arguing. Here,
so
Rosh is maintaining that they're not arguing.
Right.
Okay,
they're not
so
arguing, but
according to Rabbeinu Tam, according to the Rif, they're clearly arguing. But Rabbeinu Tam, he's positing, holds that they're not arguing at all.
Okay.
Now, if they're not arguing, let's just get to the bottom line. If they're not arguing, does he have to worry about the Basroi problem of Reb Papa?
No.
No, because there's no argument.
No, but he does have to explain, or there should be some indication of why he's quoting Rav Huna as the source of the psak.
Exactly. Well, no. Oh, that's interesting. That's interesting. Okay, that's very good. Yes, because the simple answer to that is because Rav Huna spelled out the relationship of Subin and Reb Papa didn't. Okay, according to this explanation that they're not arguing. Okay, Rav Huna, in other words, Reb Papa, when you read him, you have an understanding of Reb Papa. You think that everything is equal. The surprise is Rav Huna that Subin is less than Kesef and Meitav. So that's why he's talking about it in terms of Rav Huna. Okay, but now this whole little section in the middle, he's going to explain himself. Right? What do you mean how? Up to this point, this was a surprise. Up to this point, we thought they were arguing. We said that Rashi says they were arguing, and the Rosh said we were arguing. Right now, of course, Tom didn't explain himself, but one possibility is that they're not arguing. If they're not arguing, then I solved my problem with Basroi. Okay, because there is no Basroi. Everybody holds the same thing. You asked why did he happen to talk about Rav Huna? Well, that's because there it was clearly stated. Okay, now notice my map over here, which we'll just keep our eye on it. The second possibility of the Rosh will be that Rav Huna and Rav Papa do argue. Okay, so he's going to give two possibilities in Rav Tam. One, to solve the same problem. The problem is, where did the Basroi, how come Rabbeinu Tam did not consider Basroi as the critical fact to back the halacha? So he's going to show you two reasons why. He's not sure about Rabbeinu Tam. Okay, Rabbeinu Tam could have been holding that they're not arguing. That means Reb Papa and Rav Huna. Or maybe he holds that they are arguing. So he's going to cover both those bases and explain either way. You'll have an explanation of how Basroi is eliminated. Okay, so the question that the Rosh has is, why did Rabbeinu Tam not consider the Rif's explanation of Basroi? Okay?
Mm.
Okay, so let's now go through this slowly. As I said, you have to put on your thinking caps here. This is deep, deep waters, but we'll do it. It's not so much, it's not unfathomable. It's fathomable.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I assume, by the way, that even though the immediate issue is what to do with the Basroi status, that there's also going to be some halachic ramifications here, right?
Unirin divrei Rav
There's going to
Fasiker.
be some kind of
Oh, you mean between the two pligay and not pligay? Way. Which way? I jumped.
not necessarily, no. Yeah. Okay. Okay, sorry.
No, that's the
I'm
next
jumping
stage.
ahead.
Okay, that's the next stage. First of all,
Okay.
there'll be a lot of, I should have really focused on this. Pligay and not pligay is going to make and solve certain problems that we'll be spelling out. Okay? In other words, it's a real contest between pligay and not pligay. It's not so simple. There's certain reasons to say not pligay over pligay and pligay over not pligay. Okay, that's where we're heading here. We're going to now flush out all the reasons why one would say that they are not arguing or are arguing. Okay, and then we'll see. One of the things we're going to save is certain problems will be easier to handle one way and not the other way. But let's go slowly. Let's go on the side that Rev Huna is not arguing with Rev Papa. Okay, which is a radical move because up to this point we thought that they were arguing. At least that was the Rif, that was Rashi. So this is a new position. Not in again, Rabbeinu Tam did not say why he disagreed with Basroi. This is the Rosh filling in that step. Okay, so let's go on the supposition that it's Rabbeinu Tam holds that they're not arguing. If they're not arguing, see, I don't have to write Basroi because the Basroi and Rav Huna are the same. Okay, so let's let him spell himself out.
V'lo otu ele l'shinuye rumia dekorea hadadi. So something about changing the conflict of the verses.
Okay, so let's spell that out.
In your scripture.
Okay. Velo asu, they did not come. Who didn't come? Reb Huna read Reshua. I didn't just write it out, it just becomes too long. But they, Reb Papa and Reb Huna read Reshua, their only purpose was Lishenuye Rumia de Krohadade, to resolve the conflict between the two Pesukim. That was their aim. Now, we'll let him spell himself out, then we're going to have to see how this plays out. Okay, he's going to explain everything. He has to explain what Rev Huna was doing and what Rev Papa was doing and how they hold the same. That means even Rev Papa holds that it's Kesef and Meitav and only B'di'evid Subin. Okay? So wait a minute, we never learned that way. So he's going to have to explain, yes, all that Rev Papa was trying to do was to solve the Pesukim between Meitav and Subin. That's not going to be the aim of Rav Huna. He'll probably be between you and me on the Mishnah. Okay? But let's go. Exactly. So let's go through that slowly. V'hachi kalmar. Now he's going to spell that out. This is now Papa's problem.
What does a hachi kamar mean?
Hachi kamar, this is what he meant to say. Or this is what he meant to say. In other words.
Who is he?
Rev Papa. Rev Papa's problem. This is what Rev Papa's problem was. Rev Papa and Rev Huna Rev Rishon. I'm going to say Rev Papa, okay? But you know what means Rev Huna Rev Rishon.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I understand this.
Okay.
Yeah.
So v'hachi kalmar. So in other words, they were only coming to explain the conflict of Pesukim, one with the other. And this is what they said, what they meant to say, or this is what they were saying.
they were saying that there's no kasha. There's no,
Between, yes, there's no conflict
union, in other
between,
words,
yes, they were solving the
between,
Rabbiah, yes,
between the pasuk that says Meitav
yes,
and the other pasuk that says Yashiv, Afilu Subin.
Afilu Subin, okay,
Right. So there's no conflict between the two of them.
that was their
Is this
purpose,
clear
right?
now?
Yes, he's trying to
Okay.
explain the Rosh that the Reb Papa was just trying to say, look, relax. My problem again is the verses, not Rav Huna. He'll have the problem with the Mishnah. My problem is the verses, and I want you to know there's no conflict between the verse that says Meitav and the verse that says Yoshev, Afilu Subin. Okay, you think that there is, but I'm going to tell you there's no conflict. Okay, why? Tiritz, what is their explanation? What's their explanation that makes no conflict?
Yeah. The e leisle Meitav Sade Afilu Yahiv Le Subin Meitav. So if he does not have a good quality portion of land, he can, even Subin will count as Meitav. That's number one. Oh, the in Tzarich Meitav lo Meitav Metaltevin. And it's not necessary to give the best of movables.
Right.
So even any Subin will count as Meitav.
The Isle Meitav Soda, if he has Meitav Soda, excuse me, Lace later. That's what confused me. Yeah, I'm sorry. Because he's agreeing with Reb Huna now. If he doesn't have the Meitav Soda, then he can give the worst of his Subin. He doesn't have to give the best of his Subin.
Right.
Okay? Because that was the question. The question was, why did it, when it came to land, you have to give the best of your land? And why, however, when you give metaltalin, albeit like Reb Huna, only when you don't have the best of the land, don't you have to give the best of your metaltalin? He's running, the Rosh is running Reb Huna's Shita into Reb Papa. And he's saying Reb Papa really held like Reb Huna. That metalton was only given when you don't have metab, right? Soda or kesef, it doesn't matter. But the only question that Reb Papa had was why? Lama. How come, you're right, lichatchila, you're supposed to give metab, but how come there you give metab? How come b'di'evet, all of a sudden, you don't give the metab metalton? And how come you give even the worst?
Right. So Rav Huna's position is that it was b'di'evet to be, it was lichatchila b'di'evet, that it was b'di'evet to begin with, and he's working. That's Rav Huna's position, right? That he's working into Rav Papa.
Yes. And the only question is a further question that it's very nice that you give metaltalin when you don't have metab. That's okay. But how come you don't give the best of your metaltalin? That was what the question that Reb Papa was answering. And what was his answer? You see, all this stuff is left out. That's why it's very, very difficult to read the Rishonim, because they presume quite a lot of the reader. You know, if you're not totally involved in this piece, then it's very, very hard to understand what he's saying. Okay, but let's do it again. The answer, he reframes the question of Reb Papa. And he says Reb Papa's question, Reb Papa agreed with Rav Huna. He understood Rav Huna, but he just had one problem. How come you don't have to give the best of your metaltalin when you're allowed to give it? I mean, you don't have kesef, you don't have meta, but how come you don't have to give the best of your metaltalin? His answer is that there's no gradations in metaltalin. Metaltalin doesn't allow a best, middle, and worst. Okay? So, and land does. right? Land, there's something called best, middle, and worst. Why? Because you're limited by the amount of buyers. But metaltalin, there's no such thing as worse or best metaltalin because you're not limited by the buyers. But that's all now placed within the context of Rav Huna, meaning that if certainly Reb Papa understood that metaltalin is only given when you don't have metav or kesef. That's understood. His only question was, what's the difference? How come when you give land, you must give the best, lichatchila, okay, and b'diavad, when you give metaltalin, there you don't have to give the best. It's a shayla. How come? And the answer was because land admits of different grades, because, you'll never get your money back if you don't give the best, but metaltalin, you'll always get your money back. So there's a double...
That's what...
Yeah.
Is that what you just said now? That's in Roman numeral 2, right? That's what yours... Oh
yeah, let's read number 2. Let's read.
Saying there that,
yeah, let's read number 2. Go ahead, read it. Okay.
So Scripture does not leave its simple meaning, and it says Meitav Sadehu Yeshalom, specifically that the best of the land should be used to be paid with. The Islay by the Meitav Le Zuzeh.
No, that Zuzeh you have to cut out. The Islay Meitav Sadehu. That's why I put it in. It's very hard to read this. If he does have Meitav Sadehu, boy lemesiv lay, period.
What does it mean, boy lemesiv?
He must give it, and he can't give...
With it? Oh, something else, a substitute.
He can't give Shavikesiv.
Right.
We're going to go over this a few times because it's very, very subtle. Let's just read point number 3, then we're going to go back over the whole thing because it's V'kesiv.
V'kesiv nomik meitav. Dichtiv kesiv yoshev lebalav. Kesiv is like meitav because it says you should pay kesiv or shava kesiv, I guess, to the
Okay.
balav.
So the question is, how is that a proof of anything? Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
How's that a proof of anything? Okay. So again, I'm just going to say simply, he's saying that Kesef is like Meitav because Kesef is written Mefarish. You see? Kesef is written, it really didn't have to say Yoshev L'Balav. But what he's saying is Kesef is clear as day that you can give it. That was never a problem. The only problem was Yoshev. But so Kesef also is like Meitav because it says Kesef, you can give Kesef, Yoshev L'Balav. Okay, so anyway, that has to be explained very, very carefully. Okay, I'm just glossing over it. But basically, let's go. We're going to go over. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
How does that explain that metaltalin is always meitav? Except, I mean, the only thing I see here is that it says that this idea of ein mikra yotz midei pshutoy.
Okay, let's go over each step now again. Okay, now you have to read this through again, and let's see if we can answer. First of all, what's the question? You see, what he's trying to do is he's trying to explain Rev Papa's question in Shitas Rev Huna.
Yeah,
that's for sure. So let's go over it again. With teretz. Okay.
The Leisley Meitav Sadeh, if he does not have best of land, afilu yahiv leisuvin meitavu. He may pay with subin because even that is considered meitav. Subin is considered meitav. Ve'ein tzarech litan lo meitav metaltalin, and it's not necessary to give him the best type of movable. In other words, that's why even subin is okay, even though it's not the best type of movable. The scripture does not leave its simple meaning, and it says when it specifies meitav sadeu shalom, and it only uses the word meitav in the case of sadeh. So in other words, that meitav. This is I'm interjecting here. I don't know if this is right. He's saying that meitav does not apply to subin. or rather the opposite, that because it's not specified, it apply when we're not talking about sadeh, we're not talking about land, everything is meitav. Everything is better. No?
Okay, it's very, very subtle here. Basically, you have to chop what his point is. He wants to show that meitav is given lechatchila. That's what it means. Ein mikra yotze midei peshuto. The pashtus of mikra means what you can give lechatchila. You can give lechatchila only meitav sedehu, right, and not metaltalin.
Okay.
The pashtus of the pasuk is you must give meitav sedehu. That means if you have it, you must give it, right?
Yeah. And if you don't have it, therefore
V'ilesle, and if you don't have meitav sedehu, then you can give the word zuze has to be put out. Then you can give. I'm sorry. Let's do it again. Ulaolam ein mikra yetze mi peshuto dekasev meitav sedehu yishalem. What does that mean? What's the pashtus? V'islev meitav sedehu, then you must give it. That's the pashtus.
I see. Okay.
The pashtus of the pasuk says, if you have it, you must give it. Ilesle meitav sedehu over here. If you don't have meitav sedehu, then afilu hileb subin meitavhu. Ve'ein tzarech liten lo meitav metaltalin. If you don't have it, then you can give subin, and you don't have to give the best of your subin. And also the pashtus of the pasuk, I will add, is that you also can give kesef lechatchila, because it says you can give kesef. It spells it out. So the pashtus of the pasukim says give meitav sadeh. That's the pashtus of the pasuk. That's lechatchila. The pashtus of the pasuk kesef yiten lebalav. Forget about the word yoshu. It's not important. Is also that you can give kesef equally to meitav. But the drush of the pasuk, the remez to the pasuk of Yashiv, is only when you don't have the pashtus of meitav, soda, or kesef, then you can give metaltalin. But there, you don't have to worry about giving the best of your metaltalin. Why? Because it's a svara. Metaltalin doesn't admit of best or worst. Wow, that's a mouthful, huh?
And how does this explain Rav Papa's position?
Because Rav Papa is only trying to explain how the verses work out according to Rav Huna. In other words, he's explained to us why Rav Huna held his position. Rav Huna held his position. All we know is Rav Huna held that Kesef, and all he said you can use Kesef and Meitav. And if you don't have, then you can use Subin. That's all he told us. But he didn't tell us how the Pesukim work. Why did he say that? That was where Papa came to teach us. The basis of the interaction of the Pesukim. He was only trying to explain Rav Huna's position. That's all. But he had to do it within the verses. He had to do it within the Pesukim. So over there, when Abai asked this question, it was the conflict of the verses. So Rav Papa was explaining how the verses work out according to Shitas Rav Huna. That's all. But he was in the verses. He explained to us the pashtus of the verse says you must give meitav. The pashtus of the verse says you must give kesef. But when it came to the drush of Subin, there it's not shaykh to say meitav, because you can always get your money no matter where you are. But definitely you can't give Subin lechatchila, because that's not the pashtus of the verse. The pashtus of the verse is you give kesef and meitav. That's the pashtus. Now you want to make a drush, that's a level down. But his problem was only to explain Rav Huna's position. That's all, in the verses. But Rav Huna was talking about, let's say, the Mishnah, and he wasn't dealing with the verses. Oh, Rav Nachman asked him a verse, but that was only to say, why did you leave it out of the Mishnah? So it was Rav Papa that was explaining how the Torah, how Rav Huna came to his position by explaining the dynamics of the verses. Is that clear?
It's not clear.
Clear, exactly.
So it means then that Rav Papa does not have a halachic stance altogether.
Exactly. No, exactly. His halacha.
It's Rav Huna's.
It's exactly. It's Rav Huna's.
He's a darshan. He comes
exactly.
in to explain. Yeah.
He's just explaining Rav Huna. That's all he's doing. He's not arguing with Rav Huna at all. He's just explaining how the Pesukim work out.
So I see. So since he's only darshaning, so he has no problem throwing Subin into the works. Because Rav Huna wants to emphasize that Subin is only b'di'evid. You know, it's our second choice. We don't want to do that. And that's the psak.
Right.
Saying, look, you give land or you give kesef, and that's the psak. And if you don't have it, then okay, then he is position B. But the Rav Papa, who is not really there to give us a position, so he doesn't have to make a strong statement against Subin.
No, Adarabba. He is explaining Rav Huna's position in the Pesukim.
Yeah.
The problem with Rav Huna is, how come you don't give Meitav Metaltalin, even if it's B'di'evid? That's the problem that Rav Papa is trying to answer in the Pesukim. If you ask Rav Papa comes way after Rav Huna. So Rav Papa knew Rav Huna, and he said, but wait a minute, Rav Huna has a problem, because it's true that you can only, in other words, my problem with Rav Huna is not that you give Subin B'di'evid. That's not my problem. My problem with Rav Huna is, why don't you have to give Meitav Subin? And my answer is, because you can sell it here, you can sell it there. But Rav Papa was not attacking Rav Huna. He was agreeing with Rav Huna. But he had a different problem. He had a problem of, how come you don't give Meitav Metaltalin? But he agreed 100%, because Rav Huna, and he will explain, Rav Huna was learning Pashtus to Kraw, O Kesef O Meitav. You see? And that's L'chatchila. But his problem was, wait a minute, he raised his hand to Rav Huna and said, wait a minute, but you said that you can give any type of Metaltalin, B'di'evid? How could it be? Even Subin? How come you can't give the best? Why shouldn't you give the best? So that's what he's trying to ask. He's more really explaining like Rav Nachman type question. How come? Well, it's not really Rav Nachman either, because Rav Nachman's problem was, in general, you left out Shavah Kesef. I mean, you left out Shavah completely. His problem is, wait a minute. How come you don't have to give the best of your Subin? True, when you don't have best of land and kesef, I agree with you. You can give Shavah Kesef, but give the best of your Shavah Kesef. Don't give the worst. That was Rav Papa's problem. So he explained, okay, because there's no such thing as worse when it comes to metaltalin. It's all considered good. You can't say there's better or worse. It's all considered good. Now, to say this position, and this is what we're going to have to key on. You have to read this over. Don't think that I did this one time. I walk up and down the street thinking about this. It's like no, because I literally do it, because you have to be in it very deeply. You know what I mean? Because they're writing shorthand here. Islay, Leislay, Metaltalin, Rav Huna is together with Rappa. You know what I mean? It's you have to really think and put the whole thing together, and to see the relationship of the like what they're moving around. It's very, very easy to get lost here, because they're very in it. These people are very deep people. It's like Einsteinian people are thinking about these problems, and they're talking people who they understand are at their level. Now, even if we understand this piece of it, I like the Rosh. There's one little small piece of Rosh throughout Shas. Imagine what these I mean, what he's handling. And he's handling also, of course, Balchov. He's handling all these webs of interactions when he's talking here, okay? But whatever it is, I just wanted to make sure. Don't think I just read this one time and I understood what he's saying. I mean, I really got to put my head into it and walk a lot. My aim here is only to show the system. Then you're going to have to go through all of Shas yourself and break your head on each piece, you see. So I spoke to one guy, says, oh, you're making it too easy. So I'm not making it too easy. I'm just clarifying the depth of their thought. Now you're going to have to go through everything. That's your job. Get a Harus to go through all of Shas, Go start learning, That's the whole idea here. But at least you have to know what the parameters are, and you have to know that these people are very, very, very deep and serious thinkers. There's no one here that's, a college dropout over here, So, okay, but b27. So let's do the second part of this Rosh, okay? And we have to go over it again and again and again. I want to go over it again because you have to see it in the words. We have to live it. There's a lot of words here that are not clear. And by the way, let's see, we said the Rosh was when? When did we say the Rosh was? 1200, something like that? No, 1100 something, 1150? I forgot his dates. But anyway, around 1800s, right? Around 600 years later, the Nachlas David is going to explain the Rosh. And also, this is going to be, by the way, the main, this is going to be the guts of our discussion. This interaction between Reb Papa Reb Huna in the light of Rabbeinu Tam as opposed to the Rif becomes the name of the game in town for the next, whatever, 900 years, whatever it is, 1100, who knows what, That's what people are talking about here because it's very practical, there's practical halachic differences here, who you hold by. The third piece that we're going to do here in the Rosh is now bring a proof that the Rif is correct from another place in Shas, which is going to be, it's like one of the most beautiful things that I've ever seen. I mean, he takes a Gemara that you could read, for the next 500 years, you wouldn't understand what he did. You wouldn't have gotten it. You just zip through the Gemara and said, oh, it's a nice Gemara. And he shows you that this Gemara is going to prove the Rif's position. We get to it. It's beautiful. This stuff is like, wow. It's incredible stuff. Okay. And then the people are going to fight him. They're going to have a big fight that breaks out, a brawl. We're going to have the Shach is going to defend Rabbi Ham, against this onslaught of the Rosh, And then the Nachlas David is going to knock off the Shach and say, no, the Rosh was correct. So we're on the verge of a very important issue here that has ramifications throughout the generations. Still today, they weren't going to go, we'll see what the present-day Rosh Hashiva say. I mean, this is the whole idea here. To see each level and what they do and how they do it is the beauty of it. Then, as I said, all of the doors in front of it, at least you know what you're dealing with. Okay, so let's go over, let's do the Inami first, okay, and get a broad overview. Inami. So the first position was the low pligi. That means Reb Papa agreed with Reb Huna, but he just had a problem with Reb Huna. How do you work? Why is it that when you give the metaltalin, you can get away with giving the worst? How come you shouldn't give the best? Just like you have to give the best of the land. So he explained, that was what he explaining when he said when you can buy it here and buy it there. But he was in agreement, and here's what the Rosh says. He was in agreement with Rev Huna. He just had a different problem he had a problem with the Pesukim that really Meitav should not be limited to land. It should also be limited to metaltalin. How come it stopped there? So he set as far and explained it. That's how, if we say that they were not arguing. And also remember, I wish I had a good analogy for this. We have to keep it the long-range goal, if I don't know if it's a long-range or short-range, the big question of the Rosh was to defend Rabbeinu Tam against the problem of Basroi. Now, if they're not arguing, so he eliminated the problem of Basroi. But to eliminate the problem of Basroi, he had to reframe the question of Reb Papa. He had to put Reb Papa in Shitas Reb Huna, okay, which is not a small task, and that's what he does in this first piece. Now let's look at the other possibility that he brings to defend Rabbeinu Tam. Okay, Inami. Alternatively,
Inami, if also, or alternatively,
Yeah,
pliki. So they are arguing with each other.
that's correct. That means Reb Papa and Rav Huna. Okay.
Midakva, I don't know what that means.
Like kavua, and since placed, or he established, let's say established, since Rav Ashi established.
Since Rashi placed Rav
Now,
Huna
now
at the
that's
end
Rav
of the Gemara.
Ashi. Now who is Rav Ashi?
Right, of the Gemara, who redacted the Gemara.
Yeah, here you see in Surah. So he's the redactor of the Gemara. So now there was a fight. Rabbeinu Tam agrees with Rashi and the Ritz. There's a fight between Rav Huna and Rav Papa. But since Rav Ashi placed, Rav Huna gave Rav Huna the last, oops. Let's get back here. Yeah. Since Rav Ashi established the Shinuye, the explanation of Rav Huna Bachrona in the last position. Go ahead. Ve'ihu.
Ve'ihu koydem the Rav Papa, and he is actually, chronologically before Rav Papa.
Right.
Rav Huna Brei Rav Yeshua.
And Rav Huna Brei Rav Yeshua.
The other Rav Yeshua. Chashiv le'ika, so he's the essential. He considered him to be the essential position.
Right.
Since another way of answering this problem of the last.
Exact Basroi. Yeah. Says you're right. You're right. Rabbeinu knew that Rav Papa, of course, and Rav Huna Yeshua were Basroi, but there was another Basroi that's after the Basroi. Who is that? That's Rav Ashi, the redactor of the Talmud. How come he put Rav Huna, who was chronologically before Rav Papa, after Rav Papa? That was a red flag to tell you that he held, that means Rav Ashi, the redactor of Talmud, had that the halacha was like him. And he is the Basroi. He found the new Basroi, that's Rav Ashi. Mm-hmm. Gewaltig.
So it's interesting, both of these solutions make Rav Huna the Poisek here.
Well, that's the Shittas of Rabbeinu Tam, that's correct. Rabbeinu Tam remembers Pesach like Rav Huna. That's no question. You with me?
Yeah.
So we had to explain how he could do it.
Right.
We know what he did. Yeah, we know what he did, but the Rif said that the Rif would say to Rabbeinu Tam, "Look, my friend, I understand Rabbeinu Huna's position. That's why I said, and I even understand that he was mentioned last. But I said, Afal Gav, the halach is like Rav Papa because he's Basroi. So it's Rabbeinu Tam has to remove the Basroi problem. The question is, how do you do the Basroi problem? So the Rosh comes up with two theories of Shittas Rabbeinu Tam. Remove the Basroi problem because Rav Papa was never arguing with Rav Huna. Or remove the Basroi problem by producing another Basroi called Rav Ashi, who's the redactor of the Shas, and explained, well, why did Rav Ashi put Rav Huna last? He should have brought him first. Or you should have brought him over there at least, if not first, What is he coming to bring him over here out of place? He brought him out of place to say, gentlemen, the rule here is the last word. Why did I put him last? Because he has the last word. Even though he's not the Basroi. That's the halacha.
Does that mean that in general, if Rav Ashi, this would be a qualification of this Basroi rule.
Right.
So Basroi could have two possible meanings. It could mean either who is chronologically, historically the last, or who is the last on the page. So is that?
Well, let's investigate that a little better. Both those things are true. The question is, what is operating here? Chronologically, last is Reb Papa. So if we, what would we say the opposite of geographical? I don't know how to say. As he's presented, literally,
Textually.
textually last. Yes, very good. Textually last is Rev Huna. Okay, so the Rif says chronologically the last is more important than textually the last.
Right.
And Rabbeinu Tam says, no, textually last is more important than chronologically the last. But still, the Rosh says more than that. The Rosh says that here, it's not just chronology. Let's see if we can spell this out, because again, a very subtle point.
There is something
Here,
interesting
he should have
here.
been first. It's not that he's last, but he should have been first, and he's not first. In other words, he's out of place. It's not that he's the last word. I said he was the last word. But the way the Rosh is saying is that he's out of place.
In other words, because he's cut off from the discussion, or why?
That's now we have to start talking about these things. It's not clear. The Rosh only says that, he says what he says, but he says more though. He says, the Rosh says that Rev Ashi put him out of place. He says, Umida kavoy Rev Ashi shmida Rav Huna ba'achrona, v'ihu kodem the Rev Papa Rev Huna b'reder Shua, chashav le'ikar. Let's read what the Rosh does say. Okay, we're going to have to then throw in a lot of other possibilities there. But he says, since Rev Ashi put Rev Huna last, when in fact he is before Rev Papa, that means that he held that he was the essential halacha. That's what he says. Now you have to spell that out. We have to be careful here what we say.
You know, it's interesting that even though these two solutions, they're different. I mean, the low pligi and pligi, in a way there's something on a deep level that makes them similar, because they're both saying that the final psak is Rav Huna's. And even if Rav Papa came after him, he was just a darshan. He wasn't adding a psak, he just came along to clarify. And that's why his later position just means he's just as a clarifier. He's not somebody who is going to disagree with Rav Huna. So in a way, both of these positions, I mean the pligi and the low pligi, amount to the same. It's still chashiv le'ikar. Chashiv le'ikar applies to both.
I don't know if that's subtle enough.
Because let me just say one more thing. Because
go ahead.
This rule of
Basroi.
The Basroi rule, I assume, must mean that a later posek, looking back upon some machlekes between two men who were greater than him, and understanding that machlekes, so he somehow brings out the truth to the light, and he says, okay, the psak has to go with this gadol who came before me, and so that's when we follow him. So even there, we're not really following. It's not like we're saying he's a bigger gadol than the guys who came before him. We're just saying, look, he's the one who understood the whole argument. He resolved the nitty-gritty issues for us, and he tells us whom we have to go with. But Rav Papa here is not even in that position, at least according to the low plige option, because he's not coming to tell us who
that's only according to the low plige. Yeah. That's only according to the low plige. That's only according to the low plige. Why? According to the plige, he's arguing Rav Huna.
Rav Huna's arguing with Rav Papa.
And Rav Papa's arguing Rav Huna.
Right. So then, but then Rav Papa's arguing with Rav Huna. So then so then Rav Ashi would be coming in to resolve the machlokes. But how could Rav Papa argue with Rav Huna? He can, yes?
Yes,
He can
because they're
argue
both
with
Amoraim. They're both
Amoraim.
Amoraim. Let's get our little chart here. Okay. Even though he's a pastor, again, the generation, the sort of, even though, look, Rav Huna's way up here and Rav Papa's right down here, okay, but they still can argue with each other, okay? It's not like the big drop between here and here. This is the Tanoim, okay? They still have, all these people at this left, the ability to argue with the people before them. Now, you wouldn't expect it. It's also a weakness. I mean, it would be better if he did agree. Okay, but he can disagree. Rava and Abaya, you know, I mean, they also had opinions here in this issue. So this issue, and this is one of the things we're going to have to juggle here. We have to juggle what the issue was, but I put it this way, I don't think there's any problem here about Reb Papa fighting Reb. That's not an issue here. Just so happens that since he's later, the halacha should be like him. But he can fight with him. There's two separate issues here, who you can fight with and who the halacha follows. So if Reb Papa is fighting at Reb Huna, so the fact that Reb Ashi is a Basroi can get rid of the Basroi problem. Because he decided to put Reb Huna out of place as a flag to say the halacha is like him. I mean, that's what the Rosh will be telling us.
It's always it's like a trump, you know. It's the ultimate trump. Is you can always pull in Rav Ashi.
Yeah, exactly.
Whenever you need to. I mean, you know, what else can you do?
Well, it's not just pulling him in. You have to give a reason that he comes into the scene.
Yeah.
You see, you can't just pull him in any time. Here, you pull him in because the textual arrangement is bizarre. So who did the textual arrangement? That's Rav Ashi. So since Rav Ashi put Rav Huna after Rav Papa, textually, we could see that he is telling us what the halacha is, and he's the achron. But it's not like any time you can pull this trump card out. You know what I mean? He had reason to pull the trump card out because there's
only when the textual order.
Right, because he's the redactor. Because he's the redactor. He's the guy that's putting the text together in the end, right? And
amazing in a way.
Go ahead.
He's kind of in control of time here. I mean, he's collapsing a couple of centuries together and saying, you know what, I don't care who came first. We're looking, you know. I mean, the Basra rule is respectful to the historical order, but if you pull in Rav Ashi, so since he's the redactor, he has a free hand with history, as it were. I mean, obviously, it's not his own, you know, whimsy. I'm not saying he's deciding himself, but the time itself is different. It's a different order of time operating here.
Right, but there's only according to this is Reb Carmel. He's around, let's say, 4030, and it's like 100 years difference. Yeah. But that's not enough to make a quantum change, like between the Rishonim. After this period of the Rishonim, so then they're only going to be explaining the layout here, you see. Like we see, the Rosh is not coming up with a new opinion, either is the Rabbeinu Tam. They're just trying to explain the previous generation here. But these people can still manipulate. Now what we're doing here is a very important activity. Oops, that's not what I wanted. Sorry. Now, we have a lot of work to do. We have to go over this very subtle. At the end, what I did over here is I started writing out the pluses and minuses that each side is bringing up. Okay, because all the givens are known here. The factors are known. For instance, Rev Nachman interrupts. Well, that's a minus for the person that says that Rev Huna is trying to explain the Pesukim. Okay, the gap. Well, that's to the people who are trying to say that Rev Huna is involved in the same discussion as Rev Papa. Okay. Um, uh, Halachically, we have all these problems. Now, why, who's the halacha like? So the Rif is going to say, well, Basroi chronologically, and the Tosfos is going to say Basroi textually, because of Rav Ashi. So what we're going to have to do in order to really, really be involved in this piece is to hold all these problems in our head and then see how each side weighed the problems so that they came to their solution. Okay, and that's really what's going on over here. That's what's happening here. It's an evaluation uh, of of the situation to decide which way do we go. And we see that there's different weights being placed. Are you going to place more on Basroi or on textual order? Are you going to place more on, for instance, we have the whole textual problem here of Omar versus Rav Huna Omar, Omar Rav Huna. So what I'm trying to say is here we're beginning to enter into the field to understand what's at stake. What are the pieces that are being evaluated so that people are coming to their conclusions, you see? And that's the beginning of the real learning process. In other words, if you're just going to hold on halacha, so you know what the Rif holds the halacha, and you know like what Rabbeinu Tam holds. So let's let's vote for Rabbeinu Tam because we're Ashkenazi, and the Rif because we're not Sfard, whatever it is. But that's rah stuff, you see. It has nothing to do with what the real work is, to understand why they say what they say. What was at stake? What were they handling? And they all knew each other's. No one is blind to the other person's difficulties raised against them. You see, everyone knows that there's a problem here in the text, starting with two conclusions of a Gemara. Well, that beginning, that's very strange. The Gemara itself doesn't clearly tell us what the halach is. It just leaves two positions without telling us who it is. So that's already strange. And everybody knows that there's this break in the middle. And they're telling it to you clearly, and everybody knows that there's two different gears, Reb Papa, Omar Reb Papa. Okay, so these people who are in the issue know all the variables. We who are new to the issue have to be enlightened as to what are the variables. Our job is to understand them and to see what they're juggling, and we'll see what the people later on do. You know, either they're going to explain them or they're going to now bring a proof one way or the other, you see, because we have a terrible fight going on here between these two great Rishonim. So here, all I'm trying to say is that it takes time to understand what they're saying and to appreciate what's at stake. Okay, that's there's nothing you can do about it, because that's called depth of learning. If I told you to understand, but how they make chips in this computer, it's also, you'd say that it takes time, and lahavdil, but that's what it does. It takes a lot of time to be able to be familiar with their pieces and what they're evaluating, and then at the end, it's going to be a very, very subtle evaluation. Which way do we go? Okay, and that's going to be the people. That people are going to be doing, in the Shulchan Aruch, they're going to tell us which way we're going to go, and we're going to have to see why. But what we're going to gain is we're going to understand what's at stake, instead of just repeating words or saying, "Oh, this is the halacha." Okay, that doesn't give us the full life and excitement about what's going on here. You're not a participant, you're just an observer. It's like Rabbi Goldstein used to say, the person comes at the end of the ball game, ninth inning, and he says, "What's the score?" So he says, "Oh, well, 0-0. Oh, I didn't miss anything. Okay, so it's like reading the halacha. Okay, it's very nice. You know the end result, but you have no idea what's at stake. And there's a lot of nafkaminas here. If you're really involved in the system, so then other halachas now will also have its ramifications. So that's what Torah is about. It's a deep deep involvement, commitment, and understanding. And that's what we're trying to demonstrate here. Okay, so let's see. We started. So maybe we should stop here. This is our first time through. Now we have to go over that, number one. And maybe if you have some time now, Baruch Hashem, that you're a little bit on vacation, about what they said, read over it, okay? And we have to clarify it in our minds till we're very, very clear. And then the next exciting piece here, which is the Rosh himself now is going to show us why the Rif is correct. Basically, he's going to now he's going to show us whether you hold they were arguing or not. He's going to prove to us that the Rif is correct and Tosfos is wrong. He's going to eliminate Rabbeinu Tam's position. But what we have to do is first go over that well again and make sure we really understand what was demonstrated and what was moved back and forth, and then we're ready for his solution, which is to Pesach like the Rif. And he doesn't just say, I like him, he explains why. Okay, then, and that'll be the stage really will be set for all the other people that come after us. Okay, so we have to really, really understand this piece very, very well, because that's what they're always focusing on. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
I'm enjoying the slowness. Just so you know, I have no desire to rush through.
The Baruch Hashem, Baruch Hashem. We have to get clarity. That's the whole joy, because without clarity, it's just, you know, a mushy picture, and that's terrible, because then you get nothing. You might as well just give up and learn the halacha. But the beauty of it is to take your time. Like I say, I walk back and forth up and down the street. I do my, you know, my walk, and I have to think about it, because you got to be in it, because that's where they are. You know, once you're in it and you're really, really in it, you begin to see what they're evaluating and how they're moving the things back and forth. Okay, and that's the excitement. That's real understanding. It takes a little time, but Baruch Hashem. So Bli Neder, next time we meet, we'll go over this again, and then if we're successfully and clearly understanding the setup of the Rosh, then we'll go to his hachroa, according to the Rif, by eliminating Rabbeinu Tam. Great.
Sounds good. When should we meet again?
Up to you.
Wednesday or Thursday or what was it?
It's whatever's good for you. Just tell me. I'm here. So I'm just gonna just shut this off.
So Wednesday's good. I mean, I like our time. I like our usual times. Wednesday.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So let's do that.
Okay.
We'll see you next Wednesday, B'ezrat Hashem. Okay, I'll write myself. Okay, same time, Wednesday. Have a great vacation, and very wonderful learning experience, B'ezrat Hashem. Call to.